What's up everyone, Foxy here. Today we're going to be looking at loot filters, and not your average basic loot filters, but the ones that are going to make you money. Now with the new trade league comes new opportunities to make money in Last Epoch and therefore buy better gear. Now I know what your people are going to say, how on earth do I know what's worth anything without an Omega brain and 200 years of experience in Last Epoch? Well, we're going to use loot filters and some simple ideas that I'm going to take you through on this video. So how do you find the in-game filter? Well, you just press Shift F, you go to import a filter, you go to create filter, and we're going to call this filter loot goblin, like so, for our inner loot goblins. And we're going to color it green for the color of money. So first we're going to add 3 general rules. The first rule seems a bit counterintuitive, but we want to hide everything. So now we can't see anything that drops on the floor, but I'll explain why we want to do that in a bit. Next, we're going to only show the creme de la creme, the best stuff. That's always generally worth money regardless of what rolls on it. So exalted, uniques, and set items. Now we all know set items aren't great, but they're looking to work on these and improve them in the game. And some of them are worth money. So we're just going to add that in as the filter. And then the third general filter, which is really slightly more complex, but it is still a good rule of thumb, is to look at affixes that are at 6 or 7. Now affixes in Last Epoch go from 1 to 7, 6 to 7 being the rarest ones that you can't generally craft to. And so therefore they are worth more money. So we click advanced options, we go to more or equal to, and we go to 6. So what this is going to do now is show us anything that's unique, set, or exalted, or anything has a affix above 6 or 7. Now, the interesting bit, how do we make a filter that will find stuff that's worth money? Now, lots of us are going to have our own build filters, which will be catching the stuff that makes sense to our build, but we also want to catch stuff that's worth money that our build will not be finding. So there's a few ways of doing this. The simplest way, and a very crude way, if you don't want to put in a lot of time and effort, is to look at some of the more common things like crit strike, percentage damage of spell or casting, cast speed, cooldown, all those really common ARPG ones. But also we can look at things like level. Now level is a rare thing to find, but a common thing that's needed by classes. So if we look at Acolyte and we look at level of summon skeleton, any minion build that uses skeletons are probably going to want to increase this level. And same with things like wrath and golems, all that sort of stuff. So these levels, generally as a rule of thumb, are worth quite a bit. And we're going to click confirm there. A better way of doing this, but it's slightly more involved, is to look at the guides on Maxroll or any other guide books that people will be using when you start playing the game. So if we go to, I'm going to go to Maxroll, it's the one I commonly use. And what you're going to want to do is look at something like the tier list, which goes from S down to F. Now, if you've ever played Last Epoch or any other ARPG, people will follow the guides, and if there's an auction house, anything that guide says you need, the prices of those items skyrocket. So a good way of making money is to look at things like these guides and look at the top builds, the S tier, the A tier, and see what they need. So, for example, if we just click on the Wrath one here, I've got it open already. They're going to need things like resistances. Everyone's going to need those. They're going to be in your build already. But the ones you want to look out for are the ones that aren't commonly used by your build and therefore might still be used by others and be worth money. So minion critical strike multiplier, that would be a good candidate. You're not going to be needing that maybe in your build if you're not going minion, but other people will be wanting this. And again, movement speed, cast speed, intelligence, these sort of things you probably want to be on your money filter if they're not already in your build filter. Again, we go to Werebear Swipe, and they've got things like melee critical strike chance. We go to Hydra build, and we've got things like ward retention. These sort of things that you want to add to the filter will really improve the value of the stuff that you're finding, because these are going to be wanted, right? So if we go back to Last Epoch again, and we'll just show a demonstration of how that works. So just like I did before, we're going to put critical strike like so, and I'm going to misspell it like a muppet, and we're going to go to melee, and look, melee, spell, general, these things, right, are always going to be valuable, and some of these will already be in your build, but they're generally always going to be valuable. The third and final way of doing this, which I wouldn't suggest you do, but if you're really keen to do it this way, is we'll just add that, and I'll show you the third and final way, which is if we open up the window again and we go to affixes. This is a website that shows you the rarity of the affixes from top to bottom. Now, just because something is rare doesn't mean it's valuable, but it will have an overlap, right? So we know +1 skeleton and increased skeleton damage. That's super rare. and we're going to assume that minion builds are probably going to want to use minions. So that'll be a good candidate to add to your filter. So if we go find that one, we're going to go +1. So I'm going to go straight back to here, like so. We're going to go back into Last Epoch. We're going to open up this filter again, and we're going to select, I'm going to type +1, and it should bring it up basically straight away under the acolyte. There we go. We're going to confirm it, and now we know we've got another good one. And finally, we're going to recolor this green so that we know that anything green that drops is going to be something that we're going to look for to trade in the auction house, in the trade league. Okay, so that's how you do it. Now, how do you do it as part of your build? So let's have a look at that. The drop down again, we're going to just ignore my filters. We're going to go to one which actually has my build in it. So here we can see the build. Now, I based this build guide on a chap called 10K. He's from Maxroll. I'll put a link in the description on the YouTube video. But basically, all this is doing is combining the build of my character that I'm going to want to see these items for my character, and then adding the filter that we just built here at the bottom. So in Last Epoch, the filter works from top down, so it looks at the things from the top, and then it will work its way down. So we're going to see, first of all, everything our build needs, which is the show everything above 6. And again, this is the same rule that we had before, looking at anything above 6 or 7, which is going to be worth money, but is also good for our build. Show all unique set exalted items, exactly the same again. We built that in the last one. And then this is the only bit that's really different here, is it's coloring based on how many of the affixes I care about on my build. So this is purely build specific. I won't go into detail in this video because that's not what it's about, but it shows that you can combine the two. So first of all, it's looking at all the stuff that my build needs. And then anything my build doesn't need, but that's worth money, is recolored to green. And now just some tips and tricks I just want to add on the end of this video, how you can tailor this as you move throughout the early league to the mid league to the late league. I personally have added an extra little filter here on rarity to only show me rare, exalted, and unique and set items. Because I don't care. I don't really care if really rare affixes appear on a white or a blue. Probably people aren't going to buy them. It's probably not worth my time to put on there. I'm also at the moment looking at affixes at level 1 that are rare, going up. But as the league goes on and I see how things move, I might say it has to be equal to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then so on as we go up through the league. Or maybe I might want to say here, how many of these affixes, because this little box here explains how many affixes does it have to have on that item for me to think it's valuable. So does it have to have one of these rare items, rare affixes, or 2 or 3 or 4 of these rare affixes? And again, start everything low, and then as I go through the league and I see what the auction house looks like and how much things are worth, I might increase these numbers so I don't get spammed too much with this. My final tip and trick is basically to look in the auction house as you go along and see what affixes seem to be more valuable. There'll be a common trend of what's valuable. I didn't want to build the perfect filter in this guide. People say the perfect filters. There really isn't one. It will evolve as time goes on, based on who the blasters say the best spec is, based on the period, how long the cycle's been going. As people move to the mid game, certain affixes will drop off, others will come around. So basically it will evolve, and I've just hopefully given you some mechanisms that you can follow to try and get more valuable loot. Now, I hope you enjoyed this. This is my first ever YouTube video I've created. You've basically had Wishlist Harry Potter explain how to build a filter for the last 8 minutes or so. But hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, chuck us a like or subscribe. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch, Last Epoch, on Thursday as well, 6 p.m. British time. If you like this, check me out. And if you do have any other videos you want me to produce, just shout out in the comments and we'll have a look. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you all, and I'll catch you next time.